This video is for people who want to learn techniques for solving Sudoku puzzles. No experience is required. I'm using a puzzle available at 4puzz.com. This is a good site for learning Sudoku because it has easy and hard puzzles available, and it has this bar on top that shows you the possible numbers for each square. And the unique feature is this hint button down here, which really helps you to learn how to solve these puzzles. More about that later. As you know, each row, column, and box of 9 squares has to be filled with the numbers 1 to 9. Virtually every Sudoku solver starts by looking for the pattern I'm about to describe. Looking at this puzzle, you can see there are a lot of 7s in the puzzle. So I'll start with them. What I'm looking for is 2 7s in the top 3 rows, or the next 3 rows, or the bottom 3 rows, or in the first 3 columns, or in the second 3 columns, or in the last 3 columns. There are 2 7s in the top 3 rows here. Here's one here, and here's one here. What this means is there can't be another 7 in this row, the first row. There can't be another 7 in the second row. There has to be a 7 in the second row, and it can't be in this box of squares or in this box of squares, so it has to be one of these 3 squares. Well, those 2 are already filled in. So right away we know that a 7 has to go into this square here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it in. Okay. Now, columns work the same way. Here's a 7 in the third column. Here's a 7 in the first column. It's in these first 3 columns I'm looking. With a 7 here and a 7 here, we know there has to be a 7 in the second column and in this group of squares here. Now, it's either this one or this one. If I look across from here, however, I can see there's already a 7 over here. So this square here has to be a 7, and I'm going to put that in. In the middle set of 3 columns now we have 2 7s here. Here's one, here's the other. This means that somewhere in this column there has to be a 7. It can't be up here, can't be down here. It has to be one of these 3 squares. Now, I can't put a 7 here because there's a 7 here already. I can't put a 7 here because there's a 7 here. Clearly, a 7 has to go into this square here. Just looking at the last 3 columns, I spot that there are there's a 2 here and a 2 here. And so, again, can't be this column, can't be this column, has to be in this column, has to be in this box. A 2 has to go here. So see if you can follow along now as I keep applying this rule. There's 2 2s in the bottom 3 rows here, so a 2 has to go here. There are 2 3s in the first 3 columns, so a 3 has to go here. It can't go here because of this 3. It has to go here. There's 2 3s in the last 3 columns. So here's a 3. I'm sorry, no, there isn't. There's 2 3s in the last 3 rows. Here's a 3, here's a 3. It has to be one of these 2 is a 3. It can't be this one. It's going to be this one here. Now there are 2 3s in the last 3 columns. Again, one's here, one's here. One of these 3 squares has to be a 3. It can't be this square here. It's got to be this square here. If we look at the middle 3 columns, we see that there are a pair of 5s. Here's a 5, here's a 5. A 5 has to go in one of these 3 squares. Well, here it is. If we look at the first 3 rows again, we see here's a 6, here's a 6. A 6 has to go here. It can't go here because of this 6 here, so this has to be a 6. So just that quickly, we filled in about 10 different squares just applying this simple rule. Now that's probably more than you'll encounter on average, but for every Sudoku puzzle, generally you can get at least 2 or 3 squares this way. The next step is a little more complicated, and I'll show it to you in solving Sudoku Lesson 2. That's where this hint button down here becomes so important. If you'd like to try your hand using this technique, go to 4puzz.com and there's a daily puzzle there. Give it a try.